solve completely different things as we go, because we generally, it's already been 8 minutes of small talk.
It wouldn't be us if we didn't get lost several times.
To be fair, yeah, and do you know what? People will probably get more value out of the nonsense and out of the actual topic that we're meant to be talking about as well. So how did this come about? So this actually came about because I was talking to one of our students, one of our clients, just before they signed up, about, you know, their fears of how their eating habits were then impacting on their kids and their family and whatnot. And it was talking about, you know, we all, for the most part, will have really wholesome, healthy, lovely meals, but then it's a snacking situation that can get out of control. And I was like, oh, so that's quite interesting, and it got me thinking a little bit about my own family situation and how sometimes an outsider looking in would be going, oh my god, does her family eat that? Does she eat that? And I thought it might be quite a useful exercise for me and you to have a chat about, you know, what is real life, you know, what do actual people that are qualified in nutrition and health actually do? Because, you know, I thought, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of some people, some influencers in our kind of environment, like Gwyneth Paltrow being a big one, and, you know, everything. Yeah, and it's like, do people actually do that? And they do. Well, their Instagram profiles would tell that they do. So yeah, I think I wanted to talk about the very early days when we were doing weaning, and we had an actual bitch of a time. Archie turned out, so I had a nightmare. Archie was not a particularly happy baby, and it turned out he had really bad silent reflux, and he'd been to the doctors back and forth, but the doctor at times like, there's nothing wrong with him, he's absolutely fine. I was like, there's something wrong with him. And I had done the whole Googling, as you do, and I went to the doctor and said, I think it's this. And she's like, no, it's not that, it's just a colicky baby. I was like, well, could I see somebody else? Can I get a second opinion? I don't know what other opinion you want. I'm a mother of 6, like that. Whoop-de-doo. So anyway, that could be a whole different topic of mum shaming.
Mum shaming boils my piss, and I'm a mum of 1 refluxer and 1 cow's milk allergy.
Oh,
all the while breastfeeding. So yeah, I think that could easily be a whole other topic.
Yeah. Well, that was the reason why I stopped breastfeeding, is because he just was angry all the time, and he was like just recoiling, like he would drink and recoiling. And it was just horrible. So anyway, when we got to the weaning stage,
it was also to get all better at that point. Remember, that when they've got reflux, when they wean, it's better because they can sit up, and you're like, yay!
So then we started weaning for it, and it just got worse. Like he wasn't sleeping, he wasn't eating. I was just like, oh my god! And it was actually a baby sleep consultant that I had spoken with, and she was like, I want you to strip back the weaning. He's not to get, the only grains he was allowed was something called millet, which is just the blandest of grain.
Sounds like some kind of fish food.
Yeah, probably was, like grated, one of those things that budgies get.
Do you want your millet like fried or ground this morning, darling?
It's allowed to be in water. It wasn't allowed to be water. What are those things that budgies get that hang up?
Things. That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah,
like shaved fish or something. Anyway, and it was only allowed certain. It wasn't allowed anything acidic. And the sleep consultant said, you need to take him to the doctors. By this point, we'd moved areas and took him to the doctor, who was a ex pediatrician. And he was like, he looked down his throat and he was like, yeah, absolutely clear cut. There's a little bit of damage there. He took details of the old doctor and said that he was going to complain, but I don't know if he ever did. Anyway, he got cleared.
Where Archie?
Either way, and then we're allowed to introduce weaning properly. So at that point, like, I was working full time, traveling like 40 minutes to get to work, 40 minutes to get back, and I'm like, my principles are that we will eat really healthily, single ingredient, whole foods, home cooked, organic where possible, you know, from farm to table in as few steps as possible. And I was brought up that way, and you know, we lived in the country and we were quite self-sufficient for a lot of the time, so that was all fine. So I was like, right, I'm going to do everything myself. I'm going to puree everything and
Gonna be like a buttons,
like
get an apron on and
start like bubbling pears and apples and puree and broccoli. And it wasn't until we'd started weaning that I'd heard about baby-led weaning, and I was just like, damn, I should have done that, because that's what all the cool organic mums are doing. But yeah, and like everything was homemade. And as babies, toddlers get older and you have more responsibilities, like you kind of not lose control, and that's the wrong word, but you kind of
relax a wee bit, don't you?
Yeah, you relax a wee bit, that's the right word, you relax a wee bit. And then there was one day, I can't remember what it was. We'd been up at a christening in Glasgow, and a family member given Archie a bowl of Haribo's, like jelly sweeties. So like Archie was never allowed anything sugary that wasn't.
Oh, that is so good. I wish I'd seen your face.
I am not kidding, like a dessert bowl full of jelly sweeties, fizzy sweeties, and I love fizzy sweeties. So Archie's like, because he's never had it before, so there's all like loading going off in his face, right? And we got him home, he was wired to the moon, right? Actually wired, like just like, and we got him home and he was just spewing purple foam.
Nice. I bet it smelled lovely.
Oh, grim. It was grim. So anyway, I'm starting like all of these things that you get to where you are now. Archie's 9. How old are yours?
My wee boy is 3 and my wee girl's 5.
Yeah, so Archie's now 9, and like he gets Haribo, but he gets like 2 or 3 Haribo. He doesn't get to eat them as a snack, a play piece or anything like that. And he has chicken nuggets, although he's slightly obsessed with corn nuggets rather than chicken nuggets. And I'm not actually 100% sure he doesn't know that they're not chicken or not. So I'm not going to say anything.
Fair enough.
He likes a corn nugget. And I was talking to another lady that does kind of what we do, but she's much more, it's more kind of keto led and like no sugar, no artificial sugars. And she's like, how could you do that to your child, let them have like sweeties like that? Get a grip, like get a grip. Like my thinking is that if you restrict them so much from all the things that they see their friends having all the time, and they see, then they're ultimately at some point when they start having power over their own decision making, they're just going to go nuts. They're just going to go, yeah. Oh my God.
It's this. I think it's the beginning of this all or nothing thing that we see with our clients, and it gets kind of continued through life of like this kind of slimming world, save up your sins. The weekend it's just. I think that's the start of it. Like give them nothing, and then they will be the child that gets into the cookie jar and they're just like shoveling it down.
What did you have any weaning disasters if you've got allergies and reflux?
Yeah, so
how did that all go for you?
Weaning was like so much fun. I absolutely loved weaning because for both of mine, they did actually kind of grow out of their issues as they were sitting up more, and that kind of corresponded with weaning. So Charlie, who's my daughter, she only had reflux. And it was the usual, you know, the ranitidine and then eventually omeprazole. But by the time we weaned her, she reacted really well to solid food. And this was the time of baby-led weaning. And she just loved it. But I did the thing that all the Instagram mums did. And I got like the 300-pound chair that you can sit up like this. And then it bends down like this. And it bends down like that. And I can truly say, as a mum of the 2 messiest children you've ever met, just go spend a tenner and get the IKEA one. The IKEA one fits in the dishwasher and you can move on with your life. So that was the first thing about weaning. Just get the IKEA. Don't spend $300.
What was the one? A Baby Dan one. Like, you know, it was nice wood and adjustable feet and adjustable seat and adjustable arms and adjustable tray. It was really funky.
For your 6-month-old who's basically just going to sit there and nibble on some toast or like some salmon or something, salmon and couscous.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, so
at least
Charlie,
a recipe for Annabelle Carmel's cookbook with something like that.
yeah, so Charlie was a great wee wiener. She ate everything, she ate anything, and it made her really, really, really happy. She was just all about, you
Oh,
can
she's
feed
my
me,
spirit
I'll feed
child.
myself. Aye, she was just, oh, she's went the total 180 now, and I'll get to what she's like now. You wouldn't believe it's the same child. And then Jude, who had, he had the cow's milk protein allergy, so we had to be super careful with everything he had, especially once he started weaning, because you wouldn't believe how much foods that you just have cow's milk protein in them. They could have no dairy in them, but they've still got cow's milk proteins. So it was a wee bit less fun with Jude, but it was nice just to see him eating and, you know, playing about with stuff and all the rest of it. And I don't know if you remember, more than a year ago, you need to cast your mind back, we used to be allowed to go on holiday. Do you remember that? You could take your family, you could play,
Nah.
you could go to restaurants, and obviously us with the two youngest, we would always go on all-inclusive holidays, and just watching the two of them, like, you know, just sitting munching away, like their wee bowl of sweet corn and their wee bits of chicken, and just seeing them with all that variety. It was just great. It was really, really, really fun. And that's, so Jude is my wee boy. He has only just come out of his high chair. He's 3. So he sits on a big boy chair, but he still kind of manages to mash all his food into it and do all of that really fun stuff that you would expect of a toddler. So yeah, weaning was really fun in our house actually, and it was a welcome relief from liquids and milk and all things cow's milk protein.
Yeah.
But that's interesting that I never knew that Archie had reflux either.
Yeah, it was a joyous time in our life, joyous. And now that they're older, so I'm trying to think back to Archie being 5, so at school, yeah, he was a fab eater, and he still is a fab eater. Like, we were very like you know, family holidays and very adventurous in his eating. So there's some things like Archie will absolutely scarf down: prawns, mussels, calamari, octopus.
An expensive child.
He does have expensive taste. Oysters, mussels, some really odd things, but then there'll be things that he will just actually like broccoli. Oh my god, he actually thinks you're trying to kill him if there's broccoli that has been like, so I'll make things with broccoli in it and pick out the spears, and he'll see a tiny, you know, the wee minuscule wee bit. Was there broccoli in this? No. Yeah, there was. I can see it. He like, what? Getting my magnifying glass out. So it's just really weird how, you know, some things just won't touch. And he's never touched eggs, ever. Like, even as a baby, we didn't even tolerate milk.
That's brilliant.
Actually, no, I'll tell you what, he has touched egg, but I bribed him with chocolate to eat an egg, and it was on Easter after rolling the hard-boiled egg down a hill. I was like, going, just eat that. I'll give you a chocolate egg if you eat that egg. And he was like, it's not bad. So, yeah, your children with chocolate.
You kind of came full circle there. When I was younger, I was a really, really terrible eater. Like, I liked burnt chips, tinned food, pretty much all the kind of yellow stuff that my daughter's really fond of. And when you were talking about the broccoli there, it took me back to, I remember my mum used to pretend anytime she made spaghetti bolognese that she had made me a separate dish without onions in it. And the amount of times I would sit and I'd be like, Mum, there is onions in this. And it's absolute karma, that bitch karma coming back, because I can watch my wee girl doing it at dinner now. Do you know, sometimes if my daughter sees a plate and there's like beans touching something else, I have known her to do this. If I'm here with a plate, she'll walk backwards like, no! She is the most dramatic wee soul you've ever seen. And I now know my mum's rage.
I'm not overly
surprised. And then
so I've got a new thing that I've started doing. So I love mushrooms, like love them, slightly obsessed by them. And Dale, my husband, likes them, doesn't love them, so he'll eat them if they're on his plate. And Archie is like, they are the devil again, not touching. but over the last few weeks, I have been making this sauce, which is, I put it in the NutriBullet and I just put mushrooms in, what other veg I could be bothered with. So last week I put courgette in and some Philadelphia Light and a little bit of water and blitz it, and it turns into an amazing sauce. And it doesn't, well, I think it tastes mushroomy because we've got mushrooms in it, but because Archie has never really eaten mushrooms, he's got no idea what they taste like.
That's excellent.
Made a chicken bake thing at the weekend there, and him and Dale had it one night. I was working late, so I wasn't getting mine till later. And I was like, Archie, how was the dinner? Oh, it was delicious. I'm like, yes.
You sneaky genius of a mammy.
Absolutely. Because it was kind of light mushroomy colour because it had the Philadelphia in it. So
yeah, I might get away with that in my house. I might be able to call it yellow, and then Charlie might.
What you could put in it is sweet corn, and that would make it yellow.
Yeah, that's one of the few acceptable things to my daughter.
Sweet corn sauce. Boom.
Nice. So she's done a total 180. She was a brilliant weaner. She was just dead happy, dead grinny. And then I don't remember it happening. I don't remember her starting to change at all. I don't know if it's because it probably happened round about when Jude was born and there was all the vomiting and everything. But she's now basically, she's got these rules. So she will eat things like, and I'm not proud of this, like it's to my eternal embarrassment that this is how my children eat, but she'll eat things like fish fingers and chicken nuggets with tomato sauce, but don't you dare put tomato sauce on her plate unless there's nuggets or fish fingers on them.
Oh.
And then she'll eat like pasta sauce if she's seen a jar of pasta sauce, but if she gets an inkling that I've made it, and I make pasta once a week for Chris and I, if she gets an inkling that it's homemade, it's like, no. And she will decide she doesn't like it before she tries it. And that is the main source of frustration for Chris and I.
You know, Archie does that. I don't like that. Like, you don't even know what it is. What you don't like it? And he's better now at trying things. And I have always gone, like, I think I talk about this a lot actually in the challenges that we do, is that, you know, we tell ourselves we don't like things. Like, I don't like macaroni cheese, but there's no real reason for me because I love cheese and I love pasta, but I really hate macaroni cheese. And we tell ourselves this for years and years and years. And it actually turns out I actually think macaroni cheese is okay now, but of years of not liking it. But, you know, our taste buds do change, our likes and our dislikes do change. And what was the biggest tip? I think it was it maybe the health visitor? I can't remember. Somebody said was like, even if you know that they don't like it, just keep putting it in their plate. Just keep you eating it and them seeing that it's not killing anybody, it's not poisonous. And, you know, they might choose it, they might not. And it's that whole taking away the pressure part. And as parents, and especially as I've only got one child, you've got two, like, you're maybe a bit more relaxed with Jude than you were with Charlie, but it's that whole no pressure. I
might have been forced to, yeah. See, that's the thing. While Charlie's picking out any peas that happen to not be the right colour, Jude's stealing food off my plate, stealing food off his dad's plate because he's finished his own, and he is so happy. They've just totally switched.
So how did you find what she like? Did she go to nursery?
Yeah, she's in nursery.
And is she full time, like days, or just doing half days?
2 full days and 1 half day. So the other 2.5 days she's at my mum and dad's. And she's got my mum and dad's like this.
That doesn't change, does it? So nursery then. So when I went back to work, Archie went to childminders, and lovely lady. And I used to pack his lunch. Like, she said, no, I'll provide lunch. I said, no, I'll give him my homemade organic lovely lentils from the Annabelle Caramel.
Lovely mackerel for his breakfast.
And then she would be like, oh, I never ate his lunch. She just wanted chicken nuggets and stuff. And I'd be like, he's gonna die. But for Charlie then, how does that work when she's away from you or your mum and dad?
Well, it's all really, really interesting because, and this is one of the things I wanted to touch on, and we talk about this with our clients as well. I don't know if you were the same, but when I was younger, because I was a terrible eater, there was always this kind of, you need to finish your food. You need to clear your plate. Good girls clear their plate. 5 more peas, 3 more chips. And that stays with me even now. Like, even though it's something that I'm trying to get my clients to decondition themselves from, I still get a wee bit of accomplishment when I finish my plate. So my mum and dad have taken a step back from it. They're actually probably a lot more relaxed with Charlie than I am now. But I have to stop myself from telling her, you need to clear your plate. You need to eat it all. And it's so difficult because there's this internal conflict where I'm sitting thinking, she's not had any protein today. She's had cereal for lunch, and then she's having where's she going to get her protein? She's growing. She needs her protein. And the whole, am I going to give my daughter a complex with food? Am I going to make her obsessed with clearing her plate, thinking about food all the time, being frightened of? I mean, we deal with them all of these complexes. And how do you actually bridge that gap?
I know, I'm exactly the same. Like, raise the, you need to clear your plate, and I've always loved, like, I love eating, always have done.
Did you quite like eating when you were younger then?
Yeah, like I didn't have any food. Like, we had, like, I slag my mum off to this day. Like, as I said, we were a bit self-sufficient, so we had our own, like, fruit and veg, and we had our own chickens, and our own chickens killed, and we ate the chickens and all the rest of it. And me and my sister take the piss out of my mum because we're like, do you remember when you used to give us for a treat was a packet of Salt and Shake crisps to share with the salt taken out? That was our treat.
Oh, mummy!
that was like, and then Archie, like, Archie's her only grandchild, but Archie goes, here, have a family bar of dairy milk, here, have some of this. You're like, what the hell? And that is a much more relaxed approach, and I think that's right. But I am
that relaxed approach though, don't they?
I know. And then, so now I'm exactly the same with the whole, I still have that urge to clear my plate, and it's been and when I was speaking with my clients, the eating slowly and eating to when you're full rather than when your plate tells you you're finished, I still find that a challenge, and it has to be I see some food still left, and I know I could eat it, but do I really need it, and do I really want it? And I had to go through a bit of a journey of purposely making a commitment that I would always leave food in my plate to get myself used to it. Even if I was still hungry, I would leave food in my plate to practice that it's nothing bad's going to happen if I don't eat it. Like, nothing bad's going to happen. And it was something that I was very conscious with Archie, as even he's like, I'm full up. You're like, right, okay. Now there's a big difference between I'm full up and being full up, and I'm full up, can I have a bit of cake?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Absolutely. And that's something that Chris and I practice as well, is with the kind of starchy carbs. So when we're building their plates, he would quite happily make, loads of potatoes, or if they're having potato waffles, if they're having toast, and we're now practicing halving the portions of starchy carbs, because we know that's what's going to go first.
Yeah.
And then, so that's fine, but the kids would, they're only 3 and 5 as well. You need to give them a bit of a break. So half of that, so that when they're still hungry, they're having their veggies, they're having their protein.
I know. We had Archie's at Cubs, and they did a little bit of nutrition. I think it was for their chef's badge, I can't remember. Last year during lockdown, and I worked with him on hand portions, because he doesn't need to know about calories, he doesn't need to know about losing weight, he doesn't need to know any of that, and I want to cover that off today. But we went through, like, hand portions for your food, like when you've got a plate of food, or when you're serving yourself, thinking about the size of your hand. That's how much protein source, so your chicken or your steak or your fish or whatever it is you're eating, that's how much you should have. And you should always have more vegetables on your plate than anything else, and your 2 hands of your veg, and making sure that you're getting your starchy carbs like potatoes. And he probably eats pasta. Well, when he was homeschooled, he was probably eating pasta every day, 4 or 5 days of the week. And that's fine. I'm perfectly happy for him to eat pasta, and it's white pasta. We sometimes do whole grain, depending what's available. But it's like making sure that it is a wee cupped handful of pasta rather than what.
The right amount.
And I don't ever want to tell him foods are good or foods are bad, because again, that is you know, one of the key things I think we both see with our ladies is the impact of their parents, their mums primarily, and the relationship that their mums had with food. You know, the kick on of diet culture and don't eat this because it's bad, you know, fat's bad. And that, I think, has caused so much damage for people over the years. And I
permanently dieting, isn't it?
And it's that expectation of you're bad if you eat bad foods, and you're a failure for eating bad foods. And it's a chat, like, I've had to go through a bit of a journey with Dale, because he's not as into health, fitness, nutrition as I am.
Short order.
And had a very different upbringing. And, you know, one of the big things I would say are probably our biggest bones of contention or between us over the last few years has been how to raise our son healthily, because my version of healthy is very different from what his version was. We've found a happy medium place now, and I've learned to have to relax on some things, and he's learned he's had to be a little bit more strict on some things as well.
What's an example of that?
Fizzy juice. So I don't see fizzy juice as being the norm at all. It baffles me that, like, I used to see people with buggies, and the person, the baby, the toddler in the buggy would have a bottle of Iron Brew or something like that.
Oh yeah, my cousin's ex-husband was given Iron Brew in the bottle when he was a baby.
And that, I would be like, you know, that I'd be like, that is actual child abuse. Like, genuinely could not get my head around that at all.
That was pretty normal in the 80s though.
And no, I was only going back to when Archie was a baby. Like,
like an Iron Brew and cola.
Like actual fizzy juice. And I'm like, that is not normal. Maybe not the fizzy, like Archie, they would never give him fizzy juice, but he gives him fizzy juice now. And it was, you know, there's some things you're like, no, absolutely categorically not happening. And like if we're on holiday, I'll maybe get a Fanta or a Fanta lemon or an Orange Gina or something in France, but it's definitely not the norm. And I get really upset and angry that, you know, Coca-Cola, like full sugar Coca-Cola and whatnot, people happily give that to their kids. And if you're watching this, like, I'm not judging you, but I really think it's horrible. Like, I genuinely, for my health point of view, and a teeth point of view,
it's quite an easy win to not start, isn't it?
It's
not difficult to not give them it.
Yeah.
And once you give them it, you don't need to fight taking it off them.
Exactly. And we were
the health benefits the health back, the issues with the health is the teeth as well.
It's the teeth thing primarily more for me, because we were milk or water, and now it's milk or water or a bit of diluting juice. And we bought a Soda Stream for anybody that is trying to get their kids to rely less on like carbonated sugary drinks. A Soda Stream will be the best invention that you've ever made. So like your Soda Stream and a little bit of no sugar diluting juice just tastes amazing.
Yeah.
It doesn't be that blangy. What?
Is it fizzy though? Does the Soda Stream make it?
Yeah, it makes it. You just put the diluting juice in and then top it up with the fizzy water. It's just, it's tremendous. I love my Soda Stream.
I've got a Soda Stream in the cupboard of things. I'll need to dig it out and give it a bash.
Yeah, so we've had quite a few arguments. One thing that Archie's probably in the last couple of years is like, can I have crisps as a play piece? And like, no. We've come to a compromise that he can have crisps as a play piece on a Friday, but he's not getting...
What would you call it? What's a play piece to you?
What do you mean? Like morning snacks?
To me, a play piece is a packed lunch. So what's in your whole packed lunch? So you have your sandwich.
Yeah, a play piece is different. A play piece is morning snack. Morning snack. Okay. What does Archie get from morning snack? He either gets...
A play piece is everything that we're taking to school for the whole day.
All right. Oh, my God. Oh, what a difference 30 miles can make.
Regional dialect.
So for us, a play piece, the morning snack, he gets a bit of fruit, whatever he wants, and either So this week he's had fridge raiders or a mini pepperami. Some weeks he'll maybe get a slice of malt loaf, and that's kind of what will go between a sort of protein source. I love malt loaf, love. Our schools, I don't think they have. They're quite strict with it, like you're not allowed to take anything with nuts in. But I don't think there's I think you can take anything else. So like there's kids that are taking like sweeties and chocolate and crisps every single day. Archie will get crisps on a Friday and that's it. And for lunch,
schools took off the kids if they had sugary treats.
What?
I thought schools were taking sugary treats off kids if they brought in kind of like sweets or cakes or stuff.
I don't think they do it at our school. I think my personal opinion is that they should, and it should have like a ready accessible fruit bowl or whatnot for play pieces. Lunches. So Archie had school lunches right through P1 and P3, just because it's all part and parcel of what they get. Then P4, he wanted a packed lunch because it was such a novelty. And then when he realised that his packed lunch was not going to include pizza and pasta like the school lunches, he kind of went off that notion. But when he was taking packed lunches, it would always be like, he was never really in for a sandwich, never really much for a sandwich, but maybe a wee wrap, some pasta, because I had one of those wee flask things, wee hot flasks.
Oh yeah.
And some bits of cheese or some ham, something like that.
Yeah.
A few
I do like, I'm a big fan of having ham in the fridge for the kiddos.
Yeah, like we'll have, it was always based around, you know, our core principles is that there would be something proteiny, something carby and some vegetables.
Yeah.
I would rather not do fruit. If he was taking a wee yogurt or something, like I'd maybe pack him a wee tub with some Greek yogurt and some blueberries.
Yeah. Interesting that you mentioned fruit actually, because I know we were just about to talk about influences from our parents. And this isn't necessarily, this wasn't when I was young, this was maybe when I was about a teenager. My mum started doing Slimming World really successfully and she lost quite a lot of weight, and we all know what happens when you stop doing Slimming World. But she got into the way when I was maybe about 13, 14 of just filling up on fruit. Now, I think that it's changed since in Slimming World, and I don't think fruit is unlimited anymore. But my mum's fruit bowl used to be like this, and the fridge was full of berries, it was full of everything. And basically after Charlie's appetite started changing, my mum was still doing this. She came off Slimming World, but she was still just having easily 3 tangerines, 2 apples, a banana, big punnet of strawberries, and then there would probably be bits and bobs in between as well. And as we started to pay a bit more attention to what Charlie was eating and try and encourage her to eat healthily, when she was at my mum's house, she would come home and she wouldn't be hungry for her dinner, and it would turn out that she had all the fruit. My mum, in the best intentioned way, had said to her, "You can have as much fruit as you want, darling. It's so good for you. Help yourself." So Charlie's like, right, okay, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have that, I'm going to have this. Nobody's trying to get me to eat, you know, chicken. Nobody's trying to get me to eat fish. So she, being the 2 or 3 year old that she was, would fill up on fruit. My mum, in her best of intentions, would let her have it. And then she would come home and she wouldn't want her dinner. And this is something I think we all need to be really quite careful of. And I know that we were all brought up on 5 a day. It's easier to eat fruit because it's more, you know, portable and it tastes nicer. But I don't feel like we should be encouraging unlimited fruit with anyone, especially children.
Yeah.
I think we need to really be putting it in proportion.
I think it all depends on the circumstance. So if it's somebody, you know, a kid or anybody that is not eating any fruit or veg, and it's easier to go from nothing to 3 portions of fruit, no vegetables, then, you know, that is the obvious choice. Like, if it's more palatable, if it's easier to implement and it gets you into the habit, then absolutely it's the right thing to do. I've always had a bit of a internal rule, and it's like 5 portions fruit veg, 3 veg, 2 fruit.
Yeah, me too.
3 veg.
I've had that. I've had it probably since I've had the kids, more veg than fruit.
3 veg, 2 fruit. And there'll be some days, like, you'll be the same, there'll be some days I don't get 5 portions of fruit and veg in, but it's not the norm.
Don't tell any of the clients.
That's not the norm. 80%, 8% of the time. And I think it's probably the same for Archie. Like, he loves berries particularly, and for me and Dale were laughing at this actually. When Archie was wee, and yours were wee, did you have a wee tub that had one of those wee kind of silicone lids that they could still get their hands in, but it just meant that if the bowl tipped over,
oh yeah,
it would spill. So he used to have this wee tub full of blueberries, but he couldn't say blueberries, he used to say boobies. So he'd go out a walk or something, a wee tub of, he'd be like, boobies!
Mommy, these my boobies.
I do slag him off now at 9 of shouting boobies quite a lot. But yeah, he's always loved berries. But then there'll be sometimes he'll just be like, no, just have some cherry tomatoes, which technically I suppose is a fruit, isn't it? But yeah, it's hard. It is really, really hard when if they're not eating anything.
Yeah. There's a balance. There's always a balance, and it's always better to just aim for a slight improvement than perfection. Yeah. But what I worry about is, again, it's this all or nothing culture that we see a lot of kind of recovering slimming world ladies coming from, where it's just, I'm just going to eat all the fruit because I'm really, really, really hungry. And before you know it, they've smashed a melon and 3 bananas and, 5 tangerines, and their carbs are up here.
Yeah,
that's a bit of a tangent, but still, if we get this, if we tell children when they're little, smash all the fruit, have as much as you want, and then they just do that through their life, getting to a healthy amount of protein later in life is going to be really difficult.
I know, and it's really hard to try and make, one of the big parts is trying to make food not the enemy and not an issue. It's not a learning, well, it is a learning point, but it's not a, you must know stuff, you must know this. It's like trying to build it into them as early as possible. Eating healthy isn't about being boring. It's not about eating salad. It's eating healthy is something that we just should be doing as part of real life. And I think the kids thing is really tough because everybody, I've spoken to a few women where their kids are maybe not eating that healthy, and there's that element of that they can't control when they're at school, because you can't control, and especially as they get older and go to secondary school, you can't control. And I hope and pray now that the schools don't have the vending machines that I had at high school that were full of and
we had a van.
We had a van as well, actually, and we had the pie shop just down the road. But actually, I don't actually remember ever going to the pie shop at school, so I didn't really eat pie.
We would walk to the chippy on a Friday and have a wee roll and chips, and it was all part of the occasion, though. It was quite nice as well. This was in high school, of course.
And I remember me and my friend used to take a walk down to the supermarket on a Friday and our treat for a Friday lunchtime would be a packet of Tuck biscuits and a tub of pineapple cottage cheese. And that was our treat lunch, because through the week we would only eat, we would go and get vegetables from the canteen. That was our lunch, a pile of vegetables.
Why? Were you dieting or something? Yeah, that was just what you did.
No, I don't know. So I used to be very athletic when I was that age. So I don't know if inbuilt that was I have to be healthy, but I didn't know anything about protein at that stage. It was all about being fast, and fast you needed to be lean.
Healthy is so subjective, isn't it? Basically it should be goal related, and if the goal is just general health, then we need to just make sure we're covering off everything.
Yeah.
And another one, I don't know if this is like specific to West of Scotland, you might be the same, but we've pretty much always get soup on the go in our house. I love making soup, Chris loves making soup, there's always soup. We don't put our blender away either, because Charlie, of course, will only eat soup if it's smooth. Jude will eat the ingredients uncooked, he's just quite happy like that, but it must be blitzed for Charlie.
Yeah.
But that's the one saving grace. I do get a lot of mum guilt, especially when you think I'm talking to women about food all day long and trying to maximise their health, and then I'll come back and I'll see what my daughter's eating. But the big one is they're getting soup every day, so I know they're getting a good 3 portions anyway of vegetables around the year.
See, I'm very not hit or miss, up and down with soup. So this year I've probably made a pot of soup every single week. mainly because we got a Nutri Kitchen, is that what it's called?
A
Nutri
Ninja.
A Ninja, and it's this big beast, like, and it meant that this big beast, and it meant that we could get rid of our air fryer, our slow cooker, and our George Foreman, and it does everything. It's like the best thing that's ever happened to me, like, genuinely.
It's also the best thing that's ever happened to my dad. He is in love with his.
I love mine, and it's like you put your soup stuff in, you turn the wee dial, pressure cooker, your soup takes 7 minutes. 7 minutes.
Nice.
All done. Take that bowl out, put some more stuff in, put the slow cooker on, blitz your soup, off you go out the door for 5 hours, and you've got this lovely meals. Anyway, it's an amazing thing. So yeah, soup. Dale likes a smooth soup, and my soup will never trump his mother's.
No, of course not.
And he has made that abundantly clear. Like, I love you dearly, but your soup will never be.
Yeah, but his mother's will never get near his granny's. That's your granny's in Glasgow. Your granny's soup's the best.
Yeah.
Then mommy's.
And the biggest insult, well, one of the biggest insults that's come my way over recent weeks is that Archie, when he goes to his granny's house, right? So Archie and my mum are like this. Like, it's ridiculous. And I'd made meatballs. Was it meatballs or spaghetti or something? I was like, is that nicer than granny's? No. No. I was like, what about is whatever else it was nicer than granny's? No. I was like, is there anything that mummy makes that is nicer than granny's? Oh yeah, your chicken pesto pasta. I was like, oh, that's good. Does granny make that? No. My food is only better than granny's when granny doesn't actually make it.
Well, there you go. There's a wee silver lining for you, hen.
Well, there you go. There you go. Thanks for loving and caring and nurturing me. But your food's shit.
At least they cared. At least they tried.
That's fine. Yeah. So we've only got 10 minutes left. One of the things I did want to touch on for kids is how to take away the pressure from a kid's point of view. Like, instead of, this whole thing that we have of good and bad and trying to get kids to eat healthier, and, especially, I think it's quite a big thing for maybe a little bit older than Archie, when their hormones are starting to change and they start filling out a little bit. A lot of mums get the fear that their kid is gaining weight and getting overweight. And I went through a really good training course with a kid's, is it mental health? Development, might have been a psychologist, can't remember, it was a while ago. The one thing that you should never do is put pressure on them with food. So never tell them that food is good and never tell them that food is bad. So it was about we're eating for health, and there is no such thing as good and bad food. Like, there's things that you want to eat more of, absolutely, and there's things that you want to eat less of, but they're not bad, they're just a different type of food. But they were very clear that the one thing that we should be doing is focus on activity. Because if you think about the amount of energy a toddler has running about preschool all through primary school, but as they get to that probably 9, 10, when they're more into movies or TV, gaming,
Fortnite,
oh god, don't fries my head. It actually fries my head.
I'm so happy not to need to worry about this.
I actually hate it. Absolutely. The noises and the shouts and the bangs and the guns, and I'm just like,
does he not get headphones?
What?
He doesn't get headphones?
Not all the time. He doesn't have them on all the time. But anyway, it's about movement and encouraging movement and activity over and above doing anything from a nutrition side. So it's all about getting
kids.
So focusing on the activity, because if you think as they're growing up, their calorie requirement is getting less because they're not developing as fast. But when you add into that, the amount that they're moving is less.
Perfect cocktail.
So try and get them moving. It doesn't need to be like out playing all the time, but PE, from what Archie tells me about PE at primary school level, it's hit and miss.
Yeah.
Like, it can be not really a lot, or it can be tennis or whatever. It's not very a lot. And they do a daily mile. I don't know if they do that in England. They do it in Scotland. They do a daily mile. But sometimes they don't do it if it's raining, which in Scotland is 75% of the time.
It's going to be raining, isn't it?
So yeah, I'll always be focusing on getting them moving more, and that's, you know, when we were in lockdown, Archie would come out with me to walk the dog every single day, and he comes out and does workouts with me once a week. Sometimes we'll maybe go for a run, which is otherwise known as a fast walk with me, because I don't tend to run. But yeah, it can get tough when they're starting to find their own wee things that they like, and it's things that don't involve movement, like sitting down playing computer games.
Yeah,
it's really hard.
There's so many other things that I think come with physical activity at that age as well, or even younger, like even like for children, like we dance classes, we gymnastics classes. It's teaching them to show up on time, to be there for themselves. It's that discipline and the ability to talk to people that might not be in your class. That, you know, you're just not pushed out of your comfort zone in classrooms, and it makes them like nice little people. I get marched off to lots of stuff when I was younger, and I moaned about it quite a bit when I was younger, but I'm glad of it now.
I was like, imagine a version of Shy Clara. That's terrifying.
A little quieter.
Shy Clara. I know. It's the thing. Like, I don't think I was ever really into team sports. Nah, never really into team sports. I did some dancing, and I kind of got asked to not go to ballet because I wasn't really that delicate and like. But I did tap dancing. I was like, I could make a noise, and I did running. Did athletics.
I forced to go to karate twice a week from 5 till 12, and I hated it. I moaned about it every time. Yeah, I did not like it. But my brother was going, so it was one drop off, and my mum and dad wanted me moving. They wanted us doing stuff together, and for me, I was all about musical theatre, drama, dance, all that kind of stuff. Yes. So even like a drama class, you're still moving. It's still all this body expression stuff. So as soon as I can get Charlie into that kind of stuff, I will. And Jude, of course.
Archie is upset. Well, probably not so much now, but Strictly Come Dancing, he loved Strictly Come Dancing, loved it. And he wanted to go to dance classes, but they didn't ever have, like, they've got lots of ballet and, you know, that type of dance class. And the only thing that we could find was street dance. For
nice.
So he didn't go for it very often. He hated it, absolutely hated it, but he was there long enough to do a show.
Yeah, what?
He was there long enough to do a wee show. I think it might have been the Christmas show, and it was so cute. He must have been only about 5 or 6. I can't even remember if it was. I think he might have been at school, and it was so cute. Like all of them doing all this kind of. But he didn't really, he didn't love it. He didn't love it. But he is really into rugby, and which is good because the town that we live in, it's quite a rugby town. It's like, no, I don't know if it's famous, but you know, it's part of the culture of the town. Not posh shop. And he's really into Cubs as well, which is I did brownies and I loved it, but my mum was a brown owl, so and I didn't really but the opportunities that they get with Cubs is huge. Like the sleepovers, the trips, the sausage sizzles, like all these skills that they learn is just amazing, and it keeps them active as well, which is good. That's about the main thing. Yeah. Right. Top tips for kids health. What?
What's that?
Top tips for kids health. What were you saying?
A kitten? Yeah, so the only thing I wanted to say in conclusion, after whining about my daughter's yellow diet, is that her habits are pretty much exactly in line with, you know, 5-year-old Clara. And 5-year-old Clara is now a nutrition coach who eats anything and absolutely adores food. So for that reason, I try to chill out on her as much as possible because I have faith that she will just grow out of it. And I'm trying really hard not to give her any of the complexes that I may or may not have had around food when I was younger. Yeah. So, yeah.
I know. It's
top tips around food: always have soup in the fridge and jelly. Jelly's a good one for wee treats as well.
I love my 10 calorie jellies.
5 calories a portion.
Top tips.
Yeah. What's yours? Top tips?
Activity. Getting outside, getting moving every day, non-negotiable. You know, our bodies were made for moving. They weren't made for sitting down. They were made for moving, and maximizing that, you know, just from an esteem point of view, being challenged, get moving, get the kids moving. Absolutely right, my darling.
Pleasure, Mrs. McElhinney.
So
I'm going to need to,
if anybody has made it this far, well done. Thank you for listening to the ramblings of the Clara and Emma show.
Yeah,
we could not call it that though. So we'll be back. We will be back with something else at some point.
Be back with all things reflux. If anyone wants to know more about reflux, let us know. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.